Meanwhile, family members of military officers detained over an alleged coup plot have appealed to President Bola Tinubu to allow the suspects to be tried in an open court. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja on Friday, wives and other family members of the detained officers also requested access to the alleged coup planners. Omoyele Sowore, activist and publisher of Sahara Reporters, and Deji Adeyanju, a lawyer, attended the press conference. To discuss this, we are joined by security analyst Dauda Gombe.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening. All right, so the families of the detained officers are calling for an open trial. Now, in security cases involving alleged coup attempts, how do authorities typically balance transparency with the need to protect classified intelligence?
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. Firstly, let me sympathize with the families of these officers who have fallen victim of this incident. And it is actually devastating. It is actually not easy, but truly this is a matter of national interest. This is a matter that usually the government handle it with all seriousness, because issues that has to do with coup, and especially involving military personnel, are issues that are dealt within the military, rules and regulation. So for that trial, even though they are pleading with the president, which the president has power to decide yes or otherwise, this naturally has to pass through the military proceedings, through court martial and other procedures that will take place. But nevertheless, the president, the senior military may decide, considering the appeal of the families, considering one or two reasons, to see if they feel it is worthy to be taken into public court to be discussed and, make all necessary decision at the, public court. But naturally and in the best way, it has been handled by the military court, which is because they are military personnel and their rules and regulation, yes, it's subject to the constitution, but yet they have the way they handle these matters. And this is not the first time. It has happened before, and it may happen again, but this is how it is being done in the security sector.
All right, so speaking of court-martial, now looking at Nigeria's military justice system, what role does a court-martial play in handling cases like what we're looking at right now? And how does it differ from proceedings in civilian courts?
So, before you join military, there are things that you sign off to. And you agree if you are moving and you stop a military personnel and you ask him, if you made an attempt for coup, what is that punishment? By the time he pleaded guilty, the next thing is what? Is for him to be sentenced to death, because that is against the military rule. That is against the order. So for anybody who have involved in that situation, although as at now, we cannot say that they have committed this offense until they have faced trial. And one thing with the military court brought professionals within the system who understand this situation. And everyone is given opportunity to provide a lawyer. Sometimes even public lawyers are allowed to participate in the military court, and they're allowed to defend their client to the base of the ability they will do. So these people have to pass through this procedure, and the military have to make their own investigation. As of now, I believe the investigation is ongoing. Data is being gathered, facts are being generated to determine whether this case require them pass through the court marshalling system, or is a issue that they can be sanctioned, disciplined, and other things. So it depends on the gravity of the matter. And there are several arrests, there are several people involved. So you will not decide, or you cannot say who is involved or who is not. But at the end of the day, it is that investigation and the panel that will now recommend to the court, and the court will now commence proceeding, which the lawyers, which the accused people will defend themselves. At the end of the day, whatever the outcome or whatever defense they have made, it is what will determine the judgment at the end, which we believe one of the things is that military courts are doing justice, especially when it deals with the personnel, except otherwise if it is interrupted. And we believe that political interruption will not come to play in here.
All right, so the wives are asking for an open trial. But if the trial remains closed due to national security considerations, what mechanisms exist within the Nigerian army or the wider military justice framework to ensure fairness and due process is followed?
Yeah, I think if they are asking, and they are not asking for much. And like I said, it is up to the president and up to the senior military hierarchy to decide or determine whether this proceeding can be done openly or it will be as the usual closed-door military session. And I believe there is the military have a system. If they so wish, they will allow the families and one or two other people to attend the proceeding, to see in their face, to witness what happened, to witness what transpired and everything. But in all dimensions, what we are pleading, what we are feeling for is for leniency. The government has to look into this. You can see how these women, their children, it is disturbing seriously. It is a grave issue, but if you look at them, if you remember you are a father, you remember you are a mother, you remember you have a child, how does these families are now sleeping? So therefore, we will plead for the military to speed up the trial, and we'll still also plead for leniency. But no matter what, whether it is open or whether it is closed, what we believe is that the military at this age and what we expected or we have been seeing with them is to do justice and fairness in deciding these cases.
All right, so
they should be given the opportunity to defend themselves and to ensure their families were given the opportunity to participate and to see how they will arrive at the conclusion of this case.
All right, so these officers were arrested, I believe, around October of last year. Now, what risks could prolonged detention without a transparent judicial process pose for morale within the ranks of the armed forces?
Sorry, can you come again? It breaks.
All right, so I'll take the question again. So what risks could we potentially be looking at if the detention stays without a transparent judicial process pose for morale within the ranks of the armed forces? How does this affect morale within the ranks of the armed forces?
Truly, it is going to create a serious confusion, especially with the situation in the country. A security situation is really deteriorating. You can see what happened in Ngoshe. Mother were killed, child were there, lying on his mother's chest. The terrorist groups are moving around. You can see what is happening in the Northwest and others. And with this situation, it will actually sincerely demoralize militaries at the field level, and it may escalate tension within the military ranking because many will feel, okay, what is the problem? Are truly these people have committed this offense, or is this just a setup? That's why we are asking that an urgent trial, a speedy trial should take place, ensure that evidence are provided to the general. And that's why I think the families, which are also having a kind of second thought that did our parents, did our husbands commit this thing or not? Let it be open, let everybody see, and let us hear their voices if truly they have committed this or. But if this did not take place on time, from October to now is a long time, and we are still facing another maybe long time for investigation. Naturally, military investigation do not take place within shortest time. It usually takes time to ensure that all culprits are apprehended. So we will still believe that the military will listen to the earnings, will listen to this, and will do this on time to avoid escalation of further tension within the ranks, within the officers of the law of the country.
All right, thank you very much. That was Dauda Gombe, security analyst, joining us to discuss this matter. It can be recalled that last year, October, a group of military officers were arrested for an alleged coup. All right, thank you very much.